Hi there, and welcome to this Jessie's Fund training video. My name's Joe, and in this session we're going to be looking at creating immersive musical environments for children and young people with complex needs. Now for me, music isn't just about becoming a virtuoso instrumentalist or standing in front of loads of people and playing. It's about communication through expression and interaction. So in this session, we're going to look at how we can create a calming musical environment that can support a child or young person with complex needs to communicate, interact, express themselves most effectively. And at the end of the session, you'll get a chance to try it out straight away with myself and 4 other Jessie's Fund musicians in a 20-minute interactive music session. We'll look at a number of different elements that can help to create this environment, from sound and lighting to the more musical elements. And for this session, we're going to create our environment around the theme of the forest. But of course, you can choose whatever theme you want, or no theme at all. As we go through this process, the thing to remember is that we're trying to build a coherent and supportive sensory environment. So getting rid of any sensory clutter or distraction so that we can focus on that musical interaction. One thing that can be really useful here, for starters, is getting a sign for the door so that people don't come in and disturb you. Or if they do, that they use quiet voices when they come into the room. Some staff have also found that it's useful to mention it in a staff meeting or something so that people understand what's going on. There's often a perception that a music session will be noisy and chaotic, whereas actually what we're looking for here is something much more focused and calm. Now the first thing we're going to think about is the lighting. Now this can be as simple as turning off overhead lighting, drawing the blinds, and this can lessen the visual stimulation in the room, which then helps to support the focus on the music and the sound. Or if we're working to a theme like our forest theme, then you may want to put some sort of filter over a lamp or something. Or you might have a sensory light with a green setting which can cast beautiful shapes all around your room. Or you may have an all singing, all dancing sensory room with lots of different lights and lots of different settings, in which case the options are endless. But what I would suggest is that you think carefully about the children that you're going to be working with and be careful not to overstimulate them with the lights. Remember that the musical interaction is the key here. Expanding the visual element, you may want to introduce images or video. It would also be worth considering the varying experiences of your students according to their visual needs and abilities. But for our forest theme, we might use something like this. And again, we're looking for something very slow paced and not overstimulating, but building on that multi-sensory experience of the forest. You'll also notice that I've introduced a backing sound of the forest, which really helps to create a calming atmosphere. And this would be the second element that I would introduce to create our immersive musical environment. There are 2 simple ways you can do this in the classroom. First, search on YouTube for forest sounds or similar, and you can often find relaxing 3-hour-long videos that are perfect for this kind of thing, with gentle forest images and calming forest sounds. Second, there are plenty of apps that you can download onto your phone for free with great forest sounds or sea sounds or whatever it is that you're looking for. I recommend this one, but there's also a list of videos on YouTube and apps on the Jessie's Fund resource page linking from this video. Now the ideal way to play these sounds is through a Bluetooth speaker, and this enables you to then move around the room with the sound in your hands and introduce it to each person in the room. It also gives them an opportunity to feel the vibrations of the sound that you're playing through their fingertips, but you can also put it on different parts of their body, on their arms, their feet, their chest, or their cheek, something like that. The other really useful thing about using backing sounds like this is that it removes that anxiety of being the first person to play or to sing into an otherwise quiet room. The atmosphere is set, the music has already begun. And if we now choose the complementary instruments that can support that backing sound, then we can create what I call a musical soft play area, a safe space in which a young person's expression is validated, supported, and enhanced by that environment. And the communication can build from there. So we've looked at lighting, we've looked at backing sounds. We're going to look now at choice of instruments. As you can hear in this little passage, we've chosen wooden sounding instruments to complement the theme of the forest. We've got wooden scrapers, shakers, and wood blocks. And by using these complementary sounding instruments, it means that you can't really play anything wrong. And you can then focus on the interaction with the child or young person that you're working with. In a theme like this, I might also bring in a drum. Drums are great for one-to-one interactions because the skin is so resonant and you get so much feedback from the skin. I'd start just using very gentle sounds and then introducing louder sounds only if the child wants it. But of course you can bring in any instrument you want. So if you play an instrument, then please do bring it in and get involved with that. The thing to remember is that we're really our starting place is the atmosphere that we're building, and to focus on the interaction with the child. And of course, if you have none of these things, none of these instruments, then that's absolutely fine because you can use wooden spoons, tabletops, or just your body and your voice. So we've thought about lighting, we've thought about the backing sound, and we've chosen our instruments. We've created a safe space, a musical soft play area, into which we can now think about that musical interaction. So what do we mean by a musical interaction? As a starting point, you're using an instrument to create a sensory experience, a stimulus for the child or young person that you're working with. So rather than thinking about how do I play this instrument properly, you're thinking about how can I use this instrument to give the child a rich and varied sensory experience. It might be that you use a shaker and play it up and down the child's arm, or you get a wood block and play it on the soles of their feet, or get a drum, put it over their heads and play it for them like this. And that offers a really interesting and rich sensory experience for them. If you have any instruments to hand right now, you might want to just pause this video for a minute or two and have a try yourself. Think about all the different ways that you can play your instruments. Think about the different parts of the body that you can play it on, and have a little play around and see how many different stimulus that you can create. Having created a stimulus, you can then observe how the child responds. What do they find interesting or curious? Does it make them smile if you play on their feet? Or do they turn their heads if you change the side that you're playing on? Observing this, you can then respond appropriately. Now, obviously, the response can take many, many different forms, from simply stopping if the child does a particular thing, to introducing a pulse or a rhythm, or singing a particular song if a child does a particular thing. And to go into a bit more detail with this musical interaction, after watching this film, I suggest that you go and have a look on the Jessie's Fund website and look at Ros Hawley's brilliant training session there on musical interaction. And she goes into a lot more detail in terms of the skills and the techniques that we use to have these musical conversations. But as a starting point, I think these 3 words can be a really useful reminder: stimulate, observe, respond. The final thing that we're going to look at in detail today to help us to build our supportive, immersive musical environment is the use of song. Now, having spent a good bit of time working with instruments with the child, what you might then want to do is introduce a song to bring a bit of structure to your interaction. You can bring in the pulse or the rhythm of the song, but also it can help to support and develop the sensory and the emotional experience of the theme. Now, the song that you use may be something that you know already. It might be something really simple, or a nursery rhyme or a well-known song. But also you could just make it up on the spot in response to the child and in response to the environment. Now, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It might just be, Amy is walking through the forest. Something really simple like this can actually be really useful for a child who may then want to find that much easier to vocalise and to copy. But the key thing here is the repetition. It might be that you repeat this for a minute, it might be that you repeat it for 5 or 10 minutes. And this helps to build that familiarity and that supportive, safe environment for the child. And having established this, you then have further options for creating interesting stimulus for the child. You may decide to stop singing and then watching and seeing how they respond to that sudden stop. Or you might want to speed up the song and watch as they get more and more excited. The song that we've used in the interactive video that you can watch straight after this session is called Sambalele. And as you're watching that, hopefully you can see some of these techniques being used. Beyond this, you may also want to bring in some other sensory objects to build up a rich multi-sensory experience. And with our forest theme, this might be bringing in some leaves or some woodland flowers or fir cones. But you could also introduce smells or a poem that links to the theme, or even light touch massage. Give it a try and see what you and your students enjoy. On the resource page of the Jessie's Fund website, the link is just below this video, you can download this table of all the elements that we've talked about today. So you can choose your theme and think about what backing sound you want, or what instruments, or what song you might want to use. But please don't feel that you need to fill in every box on this table. It's just to give you a tool to develop your ideas. It might be that something quite simple is best, turning the lights down and choosing the child's favourite instrument. Or you might want to create an immersive musical installation with light sensory hangings, 2 contrasting songs, and a whole range of complementary instruments. The final thing I would say then is take your time, both within the session, allowing plenty of time for the child to process and to respond at their own pace, but also in developing this kind of session. It may be that it doesn't work perfectly first time. Often for the students, if this is something new for them, then they might be a little bit unsure at first. But hopefully as they become familiar with it, and as you become familiar with it, you'll find that creating this kind of immersive musical environment is a really useful tool in supporting a child or young person to develop creativity and expression and communication. Many thanks for watching. Remember, if you want to look in more detail at the skills and techniques we use when having musical conversations, then please click below to watch Ros Hawley's excellent session. But in the meantime, let's have a go at some of this with this interactive music session on the theme of the forest.
It's music, music with Jessie's fun. Hello, it's music, music with Jessie's fun. Hello, it's music, music with Jessie's fun. Hello, it's music, music with Jessie's fun. It's music, music with Jessie's fun. Hello, it's music, music with Jessie's fun.
Welcome back, everybody. It's great to have you here for our third Jessie's Fund music session. My name's Joe, and in this session, we're going to take a journey into the forest. Now, as before, the session is designed to cater for sensory learners with complex needs, but you can be sure that there'll be plenty in here for everyone to get involved and enjoy making music with us. Now, you don't need anything to get involved in this session. There's a song that you can sing along with, and we can always just use our bodies as percussion. But you may want to find a drum of some sort, something that you can shake, something that you can tap. I've just got a couple of wooden spoons, and a piece of soft fabric, something like this. And while we're doing the session, you can stick with just one of those things if you want to for the whole session, or you can change between them as you wish. Whatever you need to really enjoy listening, playing, feeling the music along with me and the band. Now, let's get comfy and see what sounds we can hear in the forest. Can you hear the wind in the trees? If you want to, you could start by using some light touch massage or a piece of soft fabric so that you can feel the wind. Or if you want to, you can get a shaker out and gently move it to make the sound of the wind in the trees. And can you hear that bird? Can you whistle like a bird? And there's a woodpecker. Can you hear it tapping? Can you make tapping sounds like the woodpecker on your chair or with wooden spoons? Listen to the sounds of the forest all around you. Can you hear your heartbeat? Use your drum to keep a pulse. So there are lots of different sounds that we can hear in the forest. And we've introduced you to 3 instruments: the shaker, the woodblock, and the drum. And as we make our piece of music now, you can stick with one of these instruments if you found a favourite, or feel free to change between them whenever you feel like it, to try different sounds and sensations. You can also join in our song. It's called Sambalele, but watch out for the stops.
Sambalele, 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 samba, 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 sambalele, 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 samba, 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 samba. And remember, if you prefer, you can always play the music on your body. Sambalele,
Sambalele, sambalele, sambalele, sambalele, sambalele, sambalele, sambalele, sambalele, samba, 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 sambalele, 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 samba, 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 sambalele, 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 samba, 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 sambalele, 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 samba, 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 sambalele, 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 samba, 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 samba.
This time, you can listen out for the instruments that you can hear and join in if you want to.
Sambalele, 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 samba, 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 samba.
Can we hear your whistling birds?
Sambalele, 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 samba, 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 samba.
Now let's hear your shakers.
Sambalele, 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 samba, samba, samba.
let's hear those drums.